Hey y'all, it's Tony. Today I am doing a fashion Q&A and then also just some facts about design school or fashion school that y'all want to know, or questions that I've been not only asked by y'all but in my everyday life. I thought I would answer some of these questions for y'all, and I have some questions written down and also just some talking points. For those of y'all who don't know, I did go to fashion school or a design school, where I graduated, of course, with my degree in fashion design and merchandising. I currently am designing for myself. First question, why did I choose fashion school? The reason I chose fashion school is that I've always wanted to be a designer. Honestly, my entire life, I've wanted to do design. I know some kids are like,
you know, I want to be a doctor, and then some of them think, oh no, I want to be a lawyer. And then they'll probably think, no, I want to be a nurse, or I want to be a teacher.
Some people, they're not certain about what they want to do, but this has been a really constant career goal in my mind since I was a young child. Why did I choose it? I wanted to live out my dream of becoming a designer, so I decided to forego traditional college and go straight to a design/fashion school. Originally I wanted to go to a traditional university 4-year where there's, you know, live on campus, there's clubs and Greek life, and I applied at the community college that was closest to that university. I got in, I was enrolled, I went to orientation, I took this college placement test, and then I realized that I was going to have to take remedial classes, and I was just thinking, I don't want to take 2 years of remedial classes or just gen eds for 2 years just to get 2 years of the university. Honestly, they didn't even really have much of a design program. They have costume design and they have textiles something, but it's not full-on, full-blown fashion design like I wanted. So over the summer, like I think maybe a month before, I ended up unenrolling myself from the school. I called my design school, I went on a tour, signed up, and I was still kind of unsure about going to design school because I really wanted to go to a university. Like, I was so gung-ho about it. But I gained a lot by going to a design school. Like, after my first day, I was just so excited and happy that I did make that choice for myself. I wouldn't change it. How long did it take? Well, my school, it was a 3-year program. So I started in the fall of 2009, right out of high school, and I ended in December of 2012. Was it worth it? To me, it was worth it. I didn't know a lot of the things that I do now going into college. I didn't know how to use Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop, Net Graphics, Gerber. But when I got to school, I was taught how to use them, and now I can use these programs. I didn't know a lot of historical things about fashion that I now know. Things that I probably wouldn't have learned on my own. So I believe that it was completely worth me going to design school. You really don't understand how much you learn until you graduate. How are classes? Classes are really small, actually. There's about, I say 20 people in a class. That's why I really enjoyed. You're able to really talk with the instructor, so you learn more than being in a 40-person class or 50 or 100. I don't know how traditional universities do it. Smaller class sizes give you more one-on-one time with the instructors. So that I enjoyed more because I was able to speak with them more, and they're able to remember you. And also you get to know your classmates better, because there's less of you in there, so it's kind of like you have to know each other at some point. The only thing about the classes at a design school is that they're long, or at least at my school, they were incredibly long. The fashion classes are 5 hours and gen eds are about 4 hours. They were really long. Sometimes we get out early, depending on the instructor. It's a little tough at first, coming from high school, where your classes really aren't that long, to being in one class for about 4 or 5 hours. You do get tired. So it's important to get sleep. You definitely will need snacks. The good thing about classes are that you get breaks. We were able to get about like 15-minute breaks, maybe 20. Again, it just depends on the instructor, but you do get breaks because otherwise you're gonna get tired, cold, and fall asleep. It's not a good situation without a break. The best thing about the design school was that my very first term of school, I took 2 fashion classes. If I were at a traditional university, I would still be taking gen eds. Now, I did have to take gen eds just like everybody else. We all had to take gen eds, but we were able to integrate more fashion classes with those gen eds. That was really what swayed my choice toward a design school, was being able to take the fashion classes my very first term. What can you do with your degree? Well, with my degree, it's actually a double degree because it's fashion design and merchandising. I was able to learn garment construction, history of fashion, all these components of fashion, as well as visual merchandising, fashion publicity and promotion. The knowledge that I gained from having the double major is that I'm able to know about both fields. So with my degree, I can be a fashion designer, a technical designer, an associate designer, I can be a fashion buyer, a retail merchandiser, like visual merchandising. I can be a teacher, I could teach fashion design. I can do trend forecasting. There's many careers that a fashion designer can go into. My goal ultimately is to do design, which is what I'm currently working towards. Is it like Project Runway? Yes and no. In my design classes or my sewing classes, it was more like Project Runway when you see the dress forms, the cutting tables, the machines, the sergers, because everyone's either sewing, they're fitting. There's a lot of stuff that happens in sewing classes. So yes, definitely in that aspect, it's the hustle and bustle of designing and sketching and all that. But usually all of those processes don't happen in one class. So there's different classes like sketching. Of course, everyone's gonna be sketching. Fashion sewing classes, draping. It depends on the class, but yes, it's definitely like Project Runway in the setup of the rooms and as well as the activities that go on within the rooms. No, as in we're not necessarily competing against each other. Really, fashion is about you. You have to be yourself. It's not even about beating everybody. Although fashion is very competitive, it's one of the most competitive careers to go into. In class, you're not really competing against each other. Of course, you're trying to have the most original, or you just, for me, I wasn't really trying to beat anybody. I was just doing my own thing, designing what I liked, what I thought. What sparked my interest in fashion? My grandma taught me how to hand sew as well as how to use her sewing machine. So I learned how to do all that at 6 and I've just been sewing ever since. I always loved to dress up. I think every little girl loves dressing up, but I just always had an interest in being able to be creative. I'm a very creative person